Welcome to Book Cover Court.
With Judge John Wesley Huff.
We are here at the local Barnes & Noble. First up, let's look at Sally Rooney's Intermezzo. Now, chess stuff, it's been done a lot. It's been done a ton through movies and books and everything. So to do something new with it, I think takes some effort, and I really like what they've done here. With the shadows of the pieces being the people. I really like the color combination here, this sort of muted purple and the yellow. I think is really striking. I definitely want to check this book out some point. I've never read a Sally Rooney, and I've heard good things about this. So to me, this is innocent of any design crimes. Then there's The Lightning Bottles by Marissa Stapley. I was sort of intrigued by this on a couple levels. It caught my eye because it's on metallic paper. Now, metallic can look pretty cheesy in the wrong hands, but I think that this is interesting. It has sort of this solarized look. Now, just looking at it, it does feel like it's of a particular period. And I would have guessed maybe early 2000s, but I did flip it around and just read what it was about. And it's about a grunge era musician. So is this giving me grunge? No. Is it giving me just sort of generic rock and roll, maybe filtered through a 2024 lens? Sure. So is it entirely successful? I'm not convinced, but it's not terrible. This one immediately grabbed my eye. I think the use of the silhouettes here is really brilliant. I love the way that the patterns are interlaid with each other. You know, you see this quite a bit, this sort of use of silhouette or a face or something like that. But this is one of the more effective uses of it. And I think with the themes of the story, it makes a lot of sense, and the color palette is beautiful. I think overall, the only thing I might say is maybe a slightly different typeface might have been a stronger choice and might have popped a little more, but that's a pretty minor thing. I think overall, it just looks really beautiful. One thing I will say, and I don't do this with all the books on the video, but I did to most of them, is I flipped them around and looked at the back, and I've got to tell you, people are just seem to be ignoring the back of books, maybe because less people see them online, but a lot of them were very basic, and I think kind of a missed opportunity to do more storytelling. Next up, we have My Mother Cursed My Name. Now, we've seen a lot of floral, but I do like that this is, instead of a patterning of floral or a floral bouquet, essentially, that's been showing up in a lot of books, this is sort of an isolated floral. The thing I'm not entirely convinced of here is the color story. It's not like it's unappealing. I just don't know what it's giving me. It feels sort of scattered as far as a concept you're trying to convey. Like the idea of this dandelion in various stages of bloom is very interesting. Is it suggesting a withering? It's upside down. It's interesting. It's an interesting book, but just as terms of pure like first impression, like what is this book? I found it a little confusing, and most of that is down to the color. This next book really caught my eye. It's an interesting contrast to the other metallic book. This also has a metallic substrate or a metallic surface that's being printed on, but I loved how luxurious this was. The use of metallics is beautiful. It really brings out these different jewel tones and the metallics in the ring. The typeface is really strong, really impactful. This made me want to pick up this book. Like, I want to read this book partly because of this beautiful cover. But now I do want to talk about something else, and that is when you turn this book, this digital sprayed edge, it doesn't look as bad on the video, but in person, I really struggled with it because I think it made it look kind of cheap in contrast to the luxurious nature of the metallic cover, because it wasn't a super strong color, and I don't know, these solid colors are just not doing it for me. I think with sprayed edges, like a pattern or even just some sort of basic ombre of colors is pretty and looks impressive to me. But these sort of just basic, not great coverage of digital color, I think is actually detracting from the books in some cases. This one really caught my eye, this women's hotel rather. I have seen a lot more of this sort of design where we get more buildings and even the color palette and everything. I think it's really successful, But what I really liked about this was the level of detail in the illustration. You don't really see a lot of it right away, but as you get closer to it, it provides a fun sort of cover to look at and to look into these different windows. And then we have Graveyard Shift by ML Rio. This is actually Alfred's book club pick for the book club I'm a member of. As part of Fable, so if you want to check that out. So I was very interested to see this. This is a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It's got some roughed up edges. And I almost picked this up because I was like, oh, I love, a physical book. But this is $16.99. Now, from a design perspective, I'm just going to say it's beautiful. I love the mint green. I love the illustration. I love the rough edges. I did not buy this book because I just can't justify paying like $17 for 130 some pages of story, if I remember correctly. It's a very short book. As an author, I understand the whole concept of paying for the work itself, the author's work. But man, this is a tough sell to me. As gorgeous as this book was, and as much as I liked it and enjoyed it, couldn't buy it.